Hello, good evening, Anitza. It's great that you're here. How are you? Is everything okay?
Good evening, Jose. Yes, everything's okay.
Great. That's great to know. Let's begin then with the class. We have to review something that is simple, but again, it's important to remember and try to memorize some verbs. That is going to be two lessons at the same time. This is related to gerunds and infinitives. All right. I want to please, or first, the first thing I want you to do then is just try to explain to me what you remember about these two or write structures and when you use them as you speak or when you write. Tell me please anything that you remember.
Okay. I'm going to say it's just very well, just um, are a few points because I think infinitives are too big to explain, but well, you can use gerunds to describe with verbs some actions, and you can do the same with infinitive, but you need to memorize that some verbs and other words with infinitives. And some verbs you can use both, and some verbs have different meanings when you use gerunds and when you use infinitives. But it's more like when you try to describe something that you use the shape of the verb. You can help yourself to describe these things with girls or infinitives. I don't know. That's
All right, great, great. You mentioned very important elements. Perhaps the verbs, right, are well something that we have to take into account. It's impossible to memorize all the verbs that we use with gerunds and with infinitives, but at least we try, right, to work on the ones that we use a lot. So that's what I'm going to ask you now. Again, you don't have to give me right a big list, but what verbs do you remember that you can use with gerunds, and what verbs you remember that you can use with infinitives? What do you say, Anita?
um okay. I can say that you can use gerunds verbs with like consider, means, forgiven, regret, appreciate, um, practicing, um, support. Yes, I think
Okay, and with infinitives, what do you remember for infinitives?
um, um, I wish to, I want to help to decide, um, learn. I need to something like that. Yes.
Yes, yes, the ones that
One,
you mentioned. Yeah, sorry, what's the last one?
want, wish,
Want, wish, yes. Want, wish, need, learn, right, decide. I believe you also mentioned that. Yes. All right. If I ask you which one is better to use as the subject of your sentence, the infinitive or the gerund, what's more common?
gerunds,
All right. If you want to talk about purpose, which one do you use, gerunds or infinitives?
infinite,
All right. And for all prepositions, after prepositions,
gerunds.
the gerunds, right? So good. So we have that,
Oh,
right? So it means again that we don't have to spend much time covering this lesson. I'm just going to be passing the slides and you're going to let me know if you have some questions about that because it's actually just reviewing that. And again, After this, we're going to try to use some of the verbs that you mentioned, or actually it's going to be part of, I'm going to give you a list and you can try using some of those verbs, all right? They have some words that even I've never used. People don't use those words very frequently, all right? But they put them in the list because they are part of those, all right? But again, the idea over there in the list here I'm going to give you as part of this presentation, Nitsa, is that you have to try to memorize, right, the ones that you know that you use a lot. Some of them are going to be interesting for your vocabulary, perhaps, but again, it's not something that we're going to be using. Even if you use those words in speaking to native English speakers, they are going to look at you like, right, why are you using those words, even in writing? Right? Some people want to use complex words, but they use words that people don't use very often or they are not that common anymore. Okay, but what I'm saying is in this list, we're going to try to pay attention to the words that we really use. Okay, so let's take a quick look. These are the three right ways to use the verb, the conjugations. Sometimes we have to use the base form, for example, for commands, right? Sit down, stand up, go there, come here, right? Imperatives. Or modals. After the modal, we always use the base form, right? I can do this, I would do that, I should do that, and so on and so forth. Gerunds, as you mentioned very well, they are the ones we use with, well, as subjects mainly. Here are some examples, right, that we covered before. They can be used after some verbs and after some expressions. Enjoy, avoid, and expressions such as can help, feel like. We also covered that. Then we have after all prepositions, right? Of, about, to, in, on, for, and so on and so forth. Then infinitives. They can also be the subject of your sentence, but it's not as common. It's way more formal and mainly used for objectives, right? Of course, you use it after certain verbs, as you said. It's a for, agree, decide, have, hope, learn, manage, need, prepare, refuse, want. You can use it with other people right over there to say something like, I want you to finish the quiz, right? To express a desire for someone, all right? And not for ourselves. Then you have purpose. You also mentioned this. If you want to say that something is for a specific reason, you use infinitive, right? She does exercise in order to feel better. That's the reason behind that. All right. Again, that's very short. We don't need to spend more time over there. We can go to practice. But this is the list that we're going to use, Denise. It is in the chat. You can go there, please. And as I'm going to also show you here. Okay, let's wait, please, until it opens. Okay, so this is not the most complete list of verbs, of course. You have books that can have more verbs, but this is something that you can use now, Danitza, for this practice. The verbs that are followed by gerunds over here. Again, try to use the ones that you know that you're going to use frequently. And then here we have down below the verbs followed by infinitives. You have some examples and the definition just in case. All right. So again, some of these words are not used frequently. They are just over there because they want to show you that they are also part of this list. But sometimes again, they are not some words that we're going to be using frequently. So again, the logic is going to be one more time to work on some paragraphs. But one more time, I know that it's hard to say things and to use certain verbs and to connect those verbs to make it natural. I know that that's hard, but that's going to be part of the challenge here. Danitza, why? Because in the paragraphs that you're going to write, once again, we're going to write two set of paragraphs. One of them is going to be composed of verbs. And again, I'm going to give, all right, to let you choose how many. I'm going to put the minimum, all right? The minimum is going to be at least three. All right, 3 that you have to use in each paragraph. Of course, your paragraph can be bigger, 6 complete ideas. It means at least 3 of these 6 complete ideas are going, all right, they are going to be composed of these 3 elements. All right, so all in all, we need 2 paragraphs. The first paragraphs, or the first paragraph, sorry, with infinitives, with a minimum of 3 verbs followed by infinitives, and the second paragraph with gerunds, the same logic, with some verbs, minimum 3 verbs followed by gerunds. All right, again, in order for you to use any of these verbs, you're going to decide what you want to do. But once again, you have the presentations over here for commas, for punctuation marks, and so on. But again, another condition, and this is the last one, Danitza, is going to be that from this list of transitional words and phrases, you're going to use, again, let's say a minimum also of 3 in each paragraph. Okay, 3 transitional words or phrases. It can be one at the beginning, in the middle, and to finish that paragraph. The same in the second paragraph. All right, so I don't know if you have questions about that. Let me know, please, so that we can start writing that.
No, I don't have a question.
All right, let's do it then, please, Itza. We will have a total of, this time we're going to try to finish everything in 8 minutes. Okay, so in these 8 minutes, please, let's work again. You can start now as I'm reviewing that again. 8 minutes to have the 2 paragraphs with a minimum of 3 verbs followed by infinitives and 3 transitional words in the first paragraph, and 3 verbs followed by gerunds and 3 transitional words as minimum in the second paragraph. Okay, I start with the timer then. I'll leave you with this and we can start. Okay, so it's a little bit more than the 8 minutes and 30 seconds now. And we'll take a look at what you got, all right? What you got again is going to be good just to see that in general. I'm going to our document, give me a second. Let's check that one, all right? Everything that you got is going to be okay to check this. I'm just putting this down below. All right. There you go. So first, let's treat what you got, please, Danitza, and we'll check these details. And then again, we're going to see if we have some extra time, but first we're going to try to cover the other thing that we have for now. Then we can go back to cover the paragraph that is missing. Let's read them first, please.
Okay. Yesterday I went for a coffee with one of my best friends. She asked for an emergency meet because she was having troubles with her son and husband. In fact, she also had some special issues, and she confessed being really also mad with her loved ones. I don't know. However, she appreciates my, I don't know, my advice.
Okay,
my,
yes, all right. All right, good. Now let's take a look at the details, all right? Remember, again, it's good. Well, actually, you can have strategies here, Tanitza, right? In how you write, how you approach, for example, the TOEFL or international tests. Some people just write and write and write and write, and at the end, they have at least two checks, right? The first one is to put all the punctuation marks, to set everything right in order, and then the second check is just for minor details and spelling and something like that, all right? But again, something that worked for me and perhaps it's going to work for you, it's always good, right, to try to set at least all the punctuation marks at the beginning. So this is, for example, a very important one, right? Remember the introductory phrase. So I'm just talking about this. Okay, so if you can assure that you're always going to set the punctuation mark at the beginning of any introductory phrase, is always going to be a plus. Why? Because sometimes we don't take right details into account, like time, and we finish just in time to write, to send all the writing that we got. And again, it's better to assure these points that we can get for punctuation by taking that into account. All right. Then, of course, here we need some space, right, over there, because that's going to be just the adjective defining that word. Then meet is going to be, is used in many ways, but if you want to use it as an activity, actually, it's better if you say meeting or encounter or a gathering. All right, one of those. So over here can be meeting, all right, or encounter or gathering, let's say. All right, but of course it's more common if you say encounter or meeting. All right, an emergency encounter, let's say. But of course, it's never an emergency, right? But you can call it that metaphorically, right? So, but this is what you can be using over there. Because she was having troubles here, yes, some trouble. Mainly, we can use this as, right, something that is countable, right, to have troubles in general. But also, it's very common and even more common to use these instead of problems, trouble, like a general idea that is not countable, right? What's the trouble, for example, right? You use this more generally speaking, just in singular or as something that is non-countable, all right? And generally speaking again. So here, this would be, are you having some trouble? That's going to be the possibility. All right, to make it more natural even, or some problems, that could be another option. Okay, So she was having some, because she was having some trouble, right, with her son and husband. In fact, yes, she also, here it's going to be right with has. She also has, or I don't know if it was past, has some existential issues, all right? And she confessed, right? But I think this is part of your past story, right? So it is going to be with the ed, right? She confessed being rude and also mad with her, all right? Loved ones, okay, loved ones, right? Because if you say only love, it's going to be just like the verb or the noun, the main noun. But as you're using this as an adjective, a general adjective, those are going to be your loved ones. All right. And here, you are not mad, right, with someone. In this case, it can be perhaps at. If you are mad at someone, it's going to be angry in this specific case. All right. Or to be upset at someone. However, she appreciated that, right? And again, as you said, as it is not directly mentioned over here, you can mention what, right? She appreciated my piece of advice, or she appreciated receiving, right? Receiving my piece of advice or listening to my words, for example, right? So just in order to practice again, the thing that we were trying to do here, that can be gerunds, right? Because in this case, I think what you were using the most, it's going to be gerunds, but I think that we're also not using that many, right? But okay, so yes, here you can use one. But again, that's it. Now, again, I know because of the time we couldn't write more, but I want to know what's the most difficult part in this writing process for you, Danitza, and also if you have specific questions about this feedback or well, the details that we're taking a look now. Again, the main idea was trying to use, right, three verbs that can be or could be followed by either infinitives in the first part and then gerunds in the second part. We can do, right, that inverted, but what do you say? What's the hardest part for you in this writing process? And how do you do it? You first write everything, then you check for the details, or are you checking the details at the same time you are advancing? Let me know, please, what's the process that you follow?
Um, well, I can say that I just start 4 minutes. I just only have 4 minutes to write the paragraph because my template can the page of the Google Glassberg didn't uh, loading no, doesn't show the the shit the shit it yes. And I think it's because of the short time I have. It's the bad structure and also the ideas that are just like disconnect and doesn't look like a fluid paragraph.
Right? Okay, no, don't worry. Yes, I didn't know that you. I thought, right, that you were doing it right with that thing. Perhaps I thought that you were right having some difficulties structuring those words or knowing what of or which of those verbs was going to be the best one. But I didn't know that. Okay, but again, right now, and actually, yes, because we have the. Let me see. Today we're in the fourth class, so no, yes, we have to cover at least the introduction for the next one. So for now, we're going to leave that there. We're going to see how much we know about the next one. I'm sure that we also know that. And as soon as I know that that's the case, perhaps we can go back to another writing exercise. But anytime you have that type of problem, right, that is technical, that something is not loading, let me know. Or also you can do something in that case in Anita, we can apply that for the next one. You can write your idea on Word, all right? You open a worksheet and you can write it over there, then you copy and paste that information over here. But when you're going to do that, please you let me know, because sometimes also it's a good idea doing that. But in that case, you're going to be sharing your screen, all right? Because as I don't have the process that you're following as I have over here, to me it's going to be important to watch that process, all right? As you share your screen with me, all right? So again, let's do that, all right? Anytime you have problems by writing your ideas here directly, you can open a worksheet and you're going
No,
to
I
let
was
me know.
trying to do that. Sorry.
Yeah, tell me.
I was trying to open the worksheet and my work, but doesn't work today. I don't know. It's my
All
laptop.
right.
Sorry.
Okay, then we're going to try to look right for alternatives, but it's important that you let me know so I can give you more time, or we can look for other options. All right, but again, at least for this one, we got to practice that, and it's not bad. Just take these elements into account. Now, let's take a look at the next one. If you have questions, please, again, let me know. Here, this is something that we already covered, as well as this one that I'm going to show you. And we're going to see what you know about this. But again, I'm going to start by asking you a couple of questions that is first going to be the same, future time clauses. So when do you use that is a future time clauses, and what do you remember about them? You can have different variations and words that you use before the clauses and with the clauses, but what do you remember or what do you know about this lesson?
Okay. What I know is that you can use, I don't know, well, you can have an account if what you want to express in the future is something that you are suddenly right, like um, it's like an idea like you have in the moment, so you use will or use that word to express your thoughts in the future. Or if you have something like um, uh, like a plan for the future, you also can use going to express future. And you also have different variations to express future progressive or I don't know, future perfect and yes, future perfect progressive too. Yes, I think there are
Okay.
4 combinations.
Okay, yes, you mentioned many tenses, right? So over there, I'm going to ask you something else. So those are all the possibilities that we have to write future tenses, right? The simple future would be going to, the future perfect continuous, or the future continuous only, right? And even we can use the simple present and the present continuous for some future ideas, as well as other models, right? So having all that, is going to be something that we got over there. But if we talk about clauses, right, specifically, what example could you give me using one idea, and in that idea, you have to use a future time clause? What your example would be like? What do you say?
I just have an example like I don't know if it's okay, but you can use a clause with will when you want to use you want to use perfects. I think something like I'm going. I will have earn enough money by next year, something like that. I don't know.
All right. Okay, yeah, and that's good, but that's one sentence, right? And in that sentence, you have only what we call a simple sentence. All right, I will do this by this time. Okay, but how can you add one clause to that sentence? Because again, that's only one simple sentence. Remember that a clause actually here, and Anita, that's going to help you in know what you have to do now. A clause is mainly going to be composed of two parts, the dependent clause and the independent clause. All right? And the future time clause is going to be another complete idea that has a direct connection with the previous idea or with the following idea. Okay, so in total, you have two complete ideas. So how would it be? What example then with a future time clause can you give having that logic?
Mm. Mm. I think I will spend more time if I try to express that. Uh, I don't know. Mm, um, um,
It can be something simple. If I can help you out, remember that to connect those two complete ideas, and one of them is going to be the future time clause, you can use, and again, this is even more simple than what you're thinking, right? It can be when, after, before, by the time, but that's the word that is going to connect the clause with the future time clause, okay? With the dependent, with the independent clause. So what would it?
okay. I can say something like, I don't know. I'm going to apply for another job. So by the next year at this time, I will have earned enough money to make a tour.
All right. Okay, we're close. But if you say so that, okay, we're getting closer. So that is not going to show directly in that case, and it's a clause. It's going to show actually a type of consequence, and it's going to be like you have two simple sentences, and that's what we call actually a compound sentence. All right. So a compound sentence is going to have two complete ideas, but they are connected by some fumbles or these ideas so that, so, for, right, a yet, but, and so on and so forth, right? And we're getting closer. But instead of that, you need something that is not going to be your consequence, that is going to be sometimes your condition, or is going to show the sequence that it has. Okay, so it's necessary to show one of them so that the previous idea or the next one has more sense. All right, so for example, if I ask you to.
Because at the beginning of my sentence, yeah, right sentence, because oh, I don't know if this sounds good, but because I will apply for another job. I don't know.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but that one actually it's going to be something else because it's going to be, and again, this is grammatically speaking, because it's a subordinating conjunction, all right? And actually because it's going to make your sentence a complex sentence, all right? So a simple sentence is just one idea, right? You can have two subjects, one verb, two verbs, I don't know, right? I go to the gym, right? Or I go to the gym and travel very often, right? So one subject, two verbs, that's simple, right? A compound sentence is going to be used with found voice. right? I do this, comma, but you do that. Or I finish this so that I can do this later on, right? That's compound. And complex is going to be used with because, for example, right? In that case, for example, I want to do this because I want to do this other thing. All right. So because is going to make it complex. But to use only a time, that's why it says here future time clause. It doesn't have to be a reason. It only has to be a reference of time. So that is consequence, right? So it's not time. Because is not time. It's of course reason. Time is only going to be when the next idea that you give, Tanitza, is going to be related to a word that only refers to time. And again, remember the words that I gave you: when, after, before, by the time, the minutes, all right, as soon as. Those are words that you can use before your next clause, and only in that case that's going to be considered a future time clause because it refers to time. All right, because again, if you use so that and because, your sentences are okay, but in the first case is consequence and it's compound sentence, and in the second case is complex and is reason. All right, so to make it a future time clause, you have to use one of those, let's say, beginners or connectors, so that the next part is not another complete idea and independent. No, so that that next sentence is only a reference of time. Okay, so that's a future time clause. It's something that starts with one of those words so that you show when that action is going to take place. All right, that's the logic. So what do you
It's
say? What
like when you
idea?
use
Mhm.
past, when you want to use was and a simple past, those kind of
Oh,
connect word while when
yes, exactly. Close to that. With when, exactly. If you say when, while, you are going to mention in the second part a time clause. It can be a past time clause, but in this case, it has to be a future time clause. But you can use similar word. Exactly. Uh-huh. So what do you say? With that, I believe that you already got it there. What is the example then that you can give me? And again, if you want to be sure that you have a future time clause, it has to be one idea and actually two complete ideas. One is the, let's say, the not the condition, but something that is going to depend on the next idea that starts with a time word. All right. So what do you have in mind with that?
mm, um, okay. She will be working tomorrow while I'm going to um sweep my room.
Okay. Yes, yes, you can use continuous tenses to future continuous tenses, try to show something. I will be doing this, or she will be doing something while I'm doing something else. Or you can also use future continuous. Remember, it's always a good idea to use the two ideas with the future continuous if you're using while, right? Or it can be present continuous or past continuous, right? So she will be cleaning, right, the house while I'll be, I don't know, right, doing something else. All right, that's one way, and that's actually something else. It's part of a future time clause, but as you're going to see now in the presentation, it's going to be even more simple because they are only showing us. So let me show you now, Anitza, that over here we can't or we can, right, join two ideas. One of the ideas is going to be something that you will do in the future, and the other that is the future time clause is going to be the condition or when that is going to happen, right? So I will go to bed when exactly. You can say tomorrow, you can say in 2 hours, or you can say a future time clause. right? When the movie ends. So what does future time clauses do? They only show you when exactly this right action in the future takes place. And again, it's a good idea to use the present to show when it will happen, right? And again, it can be when, it can be before, after, as soon as, until. Okay, so those are going to be mainly the future time clauses that you have more as you have over here once, immediately, the moment, the minute, the day. Sorry, my connection I think is unstable. I hope you can hear me. But you can use also these other future time expressions, all right, to show again only when exactly your action in the future will take place. All right, so as long again as you're using these words to connect the second complete idea, that's only going to be a simple sentence, but with a clause. All right, with a clause. And actually, that can also be called a complete sentence, but with future time clauses. All right, so with what I show you, what do you think is something that you need to practice over here, or how comfortable you feel with this topic in general, Danita? What do you say?
I think it's a good chapter for me to have a review. I would really like to spend more minutes here because even I think this kind of structure can be used for other tenses. And I think can make my mind open so I can make some connections.
All right,
What can I say?
great. Very good. So now in the time that we have left, we're going to use at least 6 more minutes. Let's try to cover as much as we can of this presentation. Next week, we will finish the presentation and you will work again in an exercise related only to this specific topic. And actually, on Monday, we're going to do two things. We're going to finish this, we're going to work on that practice, and we are also going to finish the second paragraph that you were missing for today's practice. All right, that is related to the other structure. I believe you were working mainly with gerunds in that case. So the one that is missing is infinitives, if I'm not wrong. All right, let's read this to be sure that at least this presentation is going to help us understand this better. Let's read the definition, please, Anita.
Definition. Future time clauses are dependent clauses that must be joined to independent main clauses. It is customary to use the future in the independent clause and the present tense in the independent time clause. Do not use the future in the time clause.
All right, good. Now again, remember, as you said, right, these structures can be used in many tenses. Anita, that's right. But when you're talking about future, remember that it is incorrect to use future, at least when you say when. If you say while, it can be an exception because you're going to talk about two things that will be happening at the same time. Okay, that's why I told you it's a good idea to use also the future continuous in the second part, because you will be doing something while or as someone else will be doing something else. All right, but if that's not the case, all right, if that's not the case, don't use future in the second part. You have to use present. All right, it's going to be a requirement. Okay, let's take that into account.
Here,
And
here,
here,
here I have a
that's why they,
question.
yeah, yes, only that.
Here, for example, we are talking about future. In the case, just a few words. In the case, in the past, I can use simple past here if I want to use these structures, these words that open the clause.
In the past, it's not going to have this, let's say, the same logic. Why? because this is an event that it's like prediction or like condition for something that didn't happen yet. But if you talk about the past, Anissa, it's always going to be two or three possible cases. You're going to talk about something that happened before another event in the past, something that was happening and well would be happening after that event in the past, and then two things happening at the same time in the past. So it means that there's no way that you're going to have another tense that is not going to be present or sorry past in that possibility. So your possibilities can be simple past, right? When simple past, in that case you're showing a sequence, right? I started with my project when you told me to. Okay, so that's like a sequence. First, or this action happened when this other action happened. You know that the other one, past continuous when simple past, right? Something that is the context and the other interrupter action, right? So I was doing this when this happened. The other one is close to that one, too close to the past continuous, Anita, but it's more related to something that finished before the second action. Okay, so if it's simple past, when simple past is that the first action happened after the second action. All right. When it's past continuous and simple past, is that the second action happened as the first action was already happening. Okay, but the first action is going to continue perhaps. But when you use the past perfect, is an action that finished before the second event. Right? It's like you when you say the show had already finished when you called me. So it's not the same as the show was, right? I don't know, right? Or I was watching, right? The show when you called me. It means that it was happening over there. But if you say I had already watched the show when you called me, it means that it finished before that. So again, the possibilities over there, Tanisa, are always going to be related to the simple past. It's very, very common that the idea after when before by the time is going to be the simple past. In few cases or exceptions, you're going to have the past continuous to show, all right, things happening simultaneously. Or in one case that is with the word after or synonyms of after, you're going to have the past perfect after that word, okay, in the time clause. But in all the rest of the ideas, is going to be the simple past. Okay?
Yeah, got it. Thanks for
All right.
the
And
review.
no, don't worry. And also remember one detail. Remember that you don't use the present perfect in that situation. Never. Why? Because remember that the present perfect is indefinite and the future time clause is a definite clarification of time. That's why you don't use present perfect here. All right. In these type of combinations, Anissa, you can use all those tenses in past, simple past, past continuous, past perfect continuous, but you don't use the present perfect. Okay. Even though it's past, it's indefinite. That's why you cannot use future time clauses with the present perfect. All right.
Okay, thank you, Jose Luis. I don't know how your brain supports all this information.
Okay, no, don't worry. No, it's because I've been doing this for many years, and it's not the main thing I do, but it's something I love. To me, music, languages, right, are things that are passion for me. So when it's something that you enjoy a lot, actually, to me, it's entertaining on all those things. When I talk about that, I feel good. So no, it's my pleasure. All right. Now we're going to be finishing here, and it's because of the time. We're going to finish then and continue with this lesson on Monday. Okay, take that into account. If you can, actually, I'm going to ask you that as a favor, so we only use the time that we got as you couldn't finish. Let's do the following, please. This is a big favor. Just use 5 minutes or a little bit more. Try to finish the second paragraph for Monday.
Okay.
Okay, just that second paragraph. So we start checking your paragraph that is missing. Then we continue with this lesson. We work with another writing for this lesson, and we continue with the next one as well. All right.
I think it's a good idea.
Great, let's do that then. As you are asking me if you have any last questions, I'm sharing two polls with you, please, Anissa. This is the first one, the daily poll. And you have one more because actually we're working very fast. This is already the fourth class. It means we are right in the middle of this course.
Okay, yes, I even opened the
Can
Pearson
you see that?
module. I
Yeah.
couldn't open the Pearson. I couldn't get any, can say advance.
Okay, don't forget about that. Yes, because we only have four classes left.
Yes,
All
yes,
right, so be careful with that. And this is the last one. Again, the satisfaction survey indicating that this is the fourth class and we have four more to go. All right, there you go. I believe that you got it. I received that is done. Then that's it. Thanks again for being here, Danitza. Enjoy your, well, the rest of the night, your weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.
I see you, Mom. Thank you, Jose Luis.
Bye bye. You're welcome. See ya.